On October 1957, something flew over your house. It was a metal sphere, the size of a beach ball. It weighed 185 pounds, and it terrified the entire world. It wasn't an explorer. It wasn't curiosity. It was a message. The rocket that carried it, the Soviet R-7, wasn't built for science. It was built for one purpose: to drop a thermonuclear warhead on the United States. Someone sat down and designed it that way, on purpose, with a drafting board and a military budget. For 300,000 years, humans looked up at the night sky and saw gods. Now they looked up and saw the enemy. We like to tell the space race as a story of triumph, of curiosity, of bravery. But look at the engineering, and you find a different truth underneath it. We didn't go to space because we were brave. We went because we were terrified. When that first signal started transmitting, it wasn't just a technological marvel. It was a psychological weapon. The American intelligence community panicked. The CIA studied the telemetry and landed on a horrifying number: a 500 metric ton rocket built on more than 1,000 tons of thrust. In a classified report, they called it a stupendous scientific achievement and concluded that the Soviets could now hit any point on Earth with a nuclear missile. They were completely wrong. They had measured their own fear and called it data, extrapolating from the parameters of their own Atlas rocket instead of the Soviets' real numbers. The Soviet machine was actually lighter, far lighter, but the fear it created, that part was real. That part was heavy. America tried to answer immediately. It went badly. On December 1957, the U.S. launched the Vanguard rocket. It rose a few feet off the launch pad and exploded. Newspapers had a field day. They called it Flopnik, Staputnik, and Kaputnik. At the United Nations, a Soviet delegate even offered the American representative foreign aid, the kind reserved for backwards nations. It was humiliation, broadcast to the entire planet. The stakes were absolute. Fear of what the other side might do punished two superpowers to build the most dangerous machine human hands have ever made. And here's the strange part. Both of those nationalistic, world-defending programs were born in the exact same place, the V-2 rocket, built in Nazi Germany to bomb allies. When the war ended, both nations grabbed the same engineers, the same machines, and took them home. Same starting point, same finish line, but two completely different philosophies. You can see it in the machines. You can see how each side chose to trust a human being. First, take human space flights. The Soviet Vostok capsule was almost entirely automated. 4 switches, 35 indicators. When Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space, he didn't have control of his own ship. Doctors didn't know what the vacuum of space might do to his mind. So they locked the manual controls. Gagarin carried a sealed envelope with a code inside, just in case of catastrophe. The American Mercury capsule went the other way. 56 switches, 76 indicators. The Americans wanted a pilot in command. 2 nations, 2 philosophies, 2 very different answers to the same question. Do you trust the man or the machine? But the real difference, the one that decided everything, was the rockets themselves. The American Saturn V rocket was a monster, 110 meters tall. Its first stage ran on just 5 F1 engines. To this day, still the most powerful single-combustion liquid engines ever built. The Americans tested everything. They detonated small explosive charges inside the engine during test firings, just to prove it could stabilize itself in just 1/10 of a second. They didn't fly it until they had tested it to perfection. The Soviets built something different, the N-1, a Titan out of the East, slightly shorter than the Saturn V, but wider, much wider, at the base. They couldn't build one massive, stable engine, just like the F-1, so they built 30 smaller ones instead. 30 engines on one rocket. And because of how those engines were ignited, they couldn't test fire them all individually before launch. Not one at a time. The Soviet approach was trial by flying. Learn in the air or don't learn at all. It was a fatal flaw. The rocket depended on a control system called cord. If one of the engines failed, cord would shut down the engine directly opposite to it, just to keep the rocket balanced. Lose 2 more engines and the mission was finished. With 30 engines spinning at once, odds were never in their favor. The math itself was working against them. The N-1 launched 4 times. It exploded 4 times. In 1972, on its final launch, a single fuel pump failed, engine number 4. 107 seconds later, the dream of Soviet moon landing was dead. The Saturn launched 13 times. 13 successful launches, every single one. It never failed, not once. The Americans won the race. They beat the clock. But the fuel that got them there wasn't just liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. It was older than that. It was the ancient tribal software still running underneath their human brain. The instinct that whispers, if we don't beat them, we will die. Fear is a powerful engine. It can take you all the way to the moon. It just can't tell you what to do once you get there. So if the race is over, who exactly are we still running from?